In the late 1990s, a French naturalist named Patrice Fay traveled to Burundi to document crocodile attacks. It's a routine job in East Africa, but local fishermen kept describing an animal doing something impossible, a massive crocodile that would kill a person and then leave the body completely uneaten. This animated diagram breaks down a cold-blooded animal's energy budget, and it reveals exactly why this behavior makes no sense. A crocodile's entire metabolism is built around conserving calories. Launching an attack burns a massive amount of energy. To kill and walk away creates a net negative energy loss. In the wild, wasting that kind of energy is a death sentence. But this animal wasn't dying. The locals called him Gustave. At over 20 feet long and 2,000 pounds, he's the largest Nile crocodile ever documented, and his hide is covered in physical proof of human encounters, bearing deep scars from spears and Kalashnikov bullets. When Fay started tallying the attacks attributed to this specific animal, the numbers defied logic. Gustave had a confirmed body count of 60 people, with estimates reaching up to 300 disappearances. He specifically targeted everyday people, relying on the river to fish or wash clothes. Standard crocodiles are ambush predators that avoid noise and agitation. Gustave hunts in broad daylight and attacks groups of people. He has even been documented taking down 4,000-pound adult hippos, a target that can easily crush a crocodile's skull. When an animal ignores the energy-saving rules of 200 million years of evolution, it stops behaving like wildlife and starts showing a signature. The abandoned bodies suggested a pattern that wasn't about hunger, but a systematic approach to the people sharing his river. Looking at his sheer size, experts assumed Gustave was ancient. But when Fay finally got close enough to document the crocodile's jaws, he found something revealing. As crocodiles age, their teeth typically break down from decades of crushing turtle shells and heavy bone. Gustave's teeth were in nearly perfect condition. That meant his diet was soft, and it placed his birth date somewhere in the 1940s. To understand what happened next, you have to look at where he grew up. This high-angle view of the Rusizi River shows how the topography acts like a giant funnel. The current forces everything from the upstream networks of Rwanda and Congo directly south, right into the slow-moving marshlands where Gustave lived. Starting in 1972, massacres in Burundi left up to 200,000 dead. The violence surged again in 1988 and culminated in neighboring Rwanda in the 1994 genocide. For over 2 decades, that river funnel became a conveyor belt, carrying thousands of human casualties straight through Gustave's territory. This chart illustrates the first theory explaining his behavior, a biological threshold. When a crocodile hits 2,000 pounds, chasing fish burns more calories than it provides. Slow-moving humans become practical prey. But the energy cost of a death roll, the rotational maneuver required to actually tear flesh from a human body, is enormous. As this graph shows, it cost him more energy to process the victim than he gains, so he simply kills them and leaves. The second theory points to trauma and memory. Crocodiles have excellent associative memory, capable of recalling specific threats for decades. During the political instability of the 1980s, poachers and militias repeatedly shot Gustave. Over time, his brain categorized humans not as food, but as violent, recurring rivals that had to be eliminated. The third theory suggests a psychological glitch known as surplus killing. In 1972, the river delivered so many bodies that Gustave never had to hunt. That constant abundance may have broken his natural hunger satiation loop. When the massacres ended and humans eventually returned to the riverbanks, that memory could have triggered a behavior to kill and hoard bodies, operating as if the food supply could vanish again. Gustave exists at the intersection of extreme biology and regional history. The combination of an unusually large predator and decades of human casualties flowing through his territory created conditions that deviate from typical predatory cycles. In 2002, Fay launched a desperate sting operation to capture Gustave alive. He secured a fragile 60-day window from the Burundian government, knowing that political collapse could occur at any moment. His team hauled a custom 30-foot, 1-ton steel cage to the muddy banks of the Rusizi Delta. At first, they loaded the trap with fresh meat. When that rotted untouched, they escalated to a live chicken. Finally, with time running out, they tied a live goat inside. Infrared cameras captured Gustave's response. Night after night, the massive crocodile surfaced. He approached the trap, observed the terrified goat from a distance, and then slipped back into the water. He refused to enter. We now know crocodiles possess sensory organs along their jaws capable of detecting the faint vibrations of a mechanical trap, along with the scent of humans. Gustave was evaluating the environment and performing risk assessment. This same predator will charge into a group of people at noon, yet he will bypass an easy meal if the setting feels manufactured. Overriding the instinct to eat to evaluate the threat of a metal structure suggests a level of cognitive risk assessment rarely documented in reptiles. On the very last night of the 60-day window, a massive storm hit the delta. The heavy rain submerged the trap and destroyed the infrared cameras. By morning, the goat was gone, and Gustave had vanished completely. Faye's team was forced to pack up and leave. Over the next decade, the crocodile became a ghost. He was credibly spotted in 2008, and then one final time in 2015. After that, he faded from a localized threat into an unverified legend. If he is still alive, he would be around 80 years old today. But despite his extreme age, no carcass of a 2,000-pound apex predator has ever been recovered from the thick mud of the Rusizi. For over half a century, those waters were used to hide the evidence of conflict. By turning rivers into graveyards, the region's history forced the local ecology to adapt to an unnatural abundance of casualties. Gustave simply learned the environment we provided and reflected those lessons back at the water's edge.